Um,
Ah,
so I know I gave some things to think about last time. I realized I didn't structure the exercise too much, so I'm not sure if any of you guys did any thinking. I did send out something yesterday of a little bit of structure that I put around the way I was looking at it. So what I want to do today is just to walk through that and
mhm.
kind of do it real time. Do you guys have any thinking you had done or any input
I
in
had
terms
Okay,
of
I
it?
have
something
it.
very small. It's like whenever it's the login and sign up page and how the forms will be structured, like how the user will go through the app.
Mhm,
And then I stopped at the point where you figure out how the main screen is like and
mhm.
where the venues are. I did something like that in Figma. I can send it on Slack if you want to.
Yeah, why don't let's look at that actually before we go into the
Okay.
one that I'm doing. Maybe you can just share your screen and share. Or do you have the ability to do that? Are you at the desktop?
Yeah, but last time I did that, the screen was too small for
Oh,
some
okay. All right.
reason.
Share it on Slack and then I will
Mhm.
open it up. I'm always interested in different ways people envision how somebody will go through the
Yeah, it's
application. So
interesting.
should be interesting. All right, I'm
I'm
going to
mainly focused
share.
on the walkthrough, like the prototyping, not the design or anything. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's
uh,
what we're doing now. We're not really looking at design at all. We're just trying to think through. Let me share my screen. Uh,
Well, we can. Well, okay. I have opened it and it's real time. I didn't know. I didn't remember that actually that Figma was so collaborative.
Collaborative.
I knew it was collaborative, but I didn't know that it was so real time. I can see your cursor moving.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
That's one of the coolest things about it is this being in there. Because I actually at work sometimes we kind of almost pair design, like we're in it at the same time doing stuff. Okay, so Harry, do you want to like just talk us through? Um,
yeah, okay. So it goes from I was trying to use the actual prototyping tool that is on Figma,
mhm,
but for some reason the little circle with a plus sign inside it wouldn't show up. So I just drew some lines.
mhm,
And so from left to right, there's like the main screen where I think of something very simple, maybe a background picture, and that describes the app very briefly, like
mhm,
your prototype. And then if the person wants to log in, then he logins with a email and password, or just email, Google, whatever is that, and then he gets directed to the right screen, like the rightmost screen, which is like the main view of the app.
mhm.
And if he doesn't want to do that and he wants to sign up, then he either signs up as a venue owner or as a venue visitor, and then
Okay.
he gets a different form.
Okay. Um, so do you guys have any feedback on that or thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's just food for thought. What is the point of at the first stage to choose between being a venue owner or a venue visitor? Because at some point you might be two, you might be both. You might own a swimming pool, but also be a visitor to a gymnasium. So
Yeah, I've also thought about that, and we could have like not have one single user, and as a user you can be a visitor and also have venues. But
I think it's a best choice. It has
yeah,
to do with the data modeling behind that at the
yeah,
end because
I
yeah
see.
you're just a person, you're just a user, yeah, and as a user you can have different roles, but you don't have, those roles are not exclusive, so you don't have to choose at the beginning if you're uh I don't know, blue or red. So I think you just have to sign up as a as a user, and then if you create a venue, then you are a venue owner for this venue, but you can also register for as a visitor in other places. That's my idea of how it should work to be more seamless.
Yeah, I think if we think about it, actually, what I wanted to focus on today was this idea of how you onboard somebody onto an app. So, how do you create an experience, and when they first come to the app, the simplest way that they can get going? And I think another thing to consider going along with Patrick's point is when I first get to this app, I may not know what the difference is between being an owner and a visitor. You have to assume that the person is coming to this fresh. So they know this app is going to help them. When they log in, the first objective is to get them the account and then to present them with some sort of help to decide what they want to do next. What they want to do next could be potentially an option to say, add a, search for a venue or, add a venue that I own. So you could achieve the same thing where the person can become a venue owner, but the way they're experiencing it is a little bit different. So that's kind of how I would suggest you could think about it.
So Thomas, just for so an idea. I mean, I like to mix both thoughts. We could invert these two screens or steps, meaning that after the sign up, because the client or the user is fresh, it doesn't really know how the app works. So we have to take him by the hand and guide him through the whole process. So as you just said, the user comes because he heard about the app and maybe is interested in creating a venue to promote his venue and to take advantage of the services of the app, or maybe he's just a visitor to want to get rid of the queues or just use the app. No, so maybe we should put this one. I don't know if I can do that correctly. We should put this one after the first one.
You don't have edit rights on here, so you won't be able to change.
But you see what I mean? I mean,
yeah,
first we have the form, so we onboard the person. So now once he has completed that, instead of directly presenting him with the homepage, we could have an intermediary step that would say, "Are you interested in creating a new venue or just
searching for
a venue?" Because probably the person has already a goal in mind, but he doesn't really know how to do it. So first step after registering, which is probably the most important thing, is, okay, now you're in. What do you want to do? And you have two choices: search for a venue or create a new one. So this first screen could be a very good screen, but after the form one. That's what I think.
Okay. So Enrico, do you have any thoughts? Or Sam? Oh, Enrico is on mute because he's something. Sam, do you have any thoughts? Okay.
I think that whatever you guys are discussing about having the venue or searching the venue is a perfect intuitive approach to this. I agree with Patrick. I think that's the best approach.
Okay, so let's look at this. So actually, I had some similar thoughts to what we just talked about here. So what I did is I made it very simple in terms of just a couple of post-its that are the kind of thought process of how we could logically do this. So initially, what we're doing is they're signing up. We've said that we're just providing Google for now, right? So you come in, there's a button, you press, it's easy, it's quick, there's no friction. We automatically know identity of who you are. So then maybe what we do next is we provide you, hold on, I hit the wrong thing. Let me go back. So the next thing we do is we give you, and this is actually similar to what Harry had. You get your profile, you can review it, maybe you can change the name. You can't do anything with the email because your email is your identifier. Maybe at that point we give them some introductory information of what they could potentially do. So I had initially thought of it, but I think actually what we just discussed is a better way when on this initial step that once they confirm those things, they're going to get this decision to make. So it's just some way that it says, what would you like to do next? Find a venue, add a venue that I own. Then and maybe you can even give some subtext for them so that they know what each of those actions would do. Then we can now branch the logic of what screen you present based on what they choose. I had also thought about, let me see. Oh, so in the version that I picked, they pick the venue route. So I just only picked one of the branches. So they go in and then we would show them how to add the venue. Once they add the venue, it takes them back to what is that dashboard where I can see venues I own and also have the ability to search if I want to go to a venue. So those are the kind of the key ideas that we were going to try to play around with. So if we start off, I did the startup page because we worked on that last time. I changed a little bit. I figured it's not like a great name for an app to be called COVID. So so I tried to like play with pandemic and I came up with pan spaces so that it can be used in other settings. But if we start off with something like this, right? So there's some sort of tagline or something that is supporting what the app is about, and then it says sign up with Google. This can probably be because this button, if you hit it and you already had an account, it would actually bring you into the app. So maybe the wording is like, yeah, because it's not like if you have email sign up where you say if you don't have an account, create an account. For this one, if I'm already in the database, if I hit this Google authentication, it'll take me in. So for now I have it as sign up, but maybe it would just say like Google sign in or something like that. Actually, let me change that. That's probably better because when you come back, you're not signing up, right?
No, that's the whole thing with social network signing. It's once you're signed in, then you are auto logged in. So that's cool.
Yeah, so let's do that. Okay, that's one change we can make. Oh, this is not connected. I need to connect this thing. Yeah, let's group this. Okay, I just want to center this. Okay, so what we can do now is duplicate this thing. So I call this the landing page. We can duplicate it. What I do to duplicate is Command D. It makes a copy of the same image. And now that we're inside, I'm going to get rid of this kind of background stuff, and we'll just have like a starting page. We don't need this text here. We don't need the background. Oh, I need to get rid of the background, not this thing. Yeah. Okay. I actually had a mask on it. So maybe we want this to be a lighter color. So we can change this to, let's make it white for now. The Google sign-in goes away because now we have blank slate where basically in the screen, what this screen is, we said we were going to present them with their, with the information that like, this is your name. They can change the name. What else did we have in there? Did we have address or anything else? I know when we did it in the code.
Well, we said that the MVP, to make it simple in terms of coding, we would only use the information from the social login. So
okay, so if you have an avatar, it will give the avatar.
Yeah, well, on the final app, maybe you want to maybe display more information. Maybe you want to confirm the address or stuff like that. But as an MVP.
Okay.
So
what we can do here is we still want some identity. Oh, sorry. I want the actual icon text to be dark. Yeah, there we go.
Well, actually, in terms of steps or in the workflow, after you go through the first screen, you have at least 3 possibilities. So, in my opinion, so first alternative is it's a completely fresh user. So
that's the one that we're doing now. So we're only focusing on the onboarding piece. So somebody's new, and they're coming
Okay.
just so that it's focused and we can think through that whole journey. And then you could go back and take that same screen and say, how would we do if I came in as somebody who's already in? So usually this is probably somewhere further up. And then what we need is probably form fields. We need like a field, right? So we have their, so their name, let's say John Smith. And then we have their email, but this is disabled, right? j.smith@example.com. And this is email. And we can say this is disabled. So how do I need to get the whole thing.
Text as gray.
Let me go here. Text field. It should have other options. It doesn't have other options. Okay, that's fine. We can make the text gray inside. Text, this one. We'll just make it gray.
That's
it. Disabled, right? And we can actually maybe have some text that says, please confirm your name. Please. Oh, why is this white? Sorry, I'm doing this real time. So we'll solve it as we go. Okay. So I was looking for, yeah, we need a text field somewhere in here. And its fill is black, so that should right. Okay. Please confirm your name. This is just, eventually this might become more involved of what they're confirming. Like we said, we're keeping it simple. So it's just their name because the email address is already in. And then it would be some sort of button where they confirm, right?
As a parenthesis, from my experience, in terms of user experience, what you usually want to do is on those kind of screen or on the wizard, if you need some more information, you just ask for the very strict minimum required information. And then maybe somewhere else in the app, in a preference page or something, some place like that, you can give the opportunity to the user to input much more information. But you don't bombard him or her with a lot of questions and a lot of things to fill up in those screens. I think it's a much better approach to say, I just need the person to confirm his name, because everywhere in the app, the name will be displayed.
Yeah.
So it's not a good, experience to have a wrong name displayed. But the rest, I mean, gender, or I don't know, the picture, whatever, you have to give the opportunity or the ability to the user to change that, but you don't need them
to do it
right now.
Yeah. Okay,
Same
and actually we can
for the venues, I think.
A little more conversational and say something like, is this how is this is your name correct? Correct. Or something like that, where you're just having them confirm it. They'll either change it or not, and then we actually don't need to show this part based on what you're saying, right? Just
I don't think so. Although you can't even change it. So what's the point of showing it?
No point in having it, because you can't.
I guess the person already knows his email because he's just signed in.
Yeah, and then is your name correct? If not, you can change it here.
Well, that's it. I think people understand.
You can change. This should be this. And change it here. And make it centered. So just very simply get them to acknowledge that part. Hold on, here's your name. We don't want the button, we want this, and the button. Yes, okay.
Oh, by the way, should we put what Patrick talked about here, like maybe a pop-up or a little hint button that tells the user that if he wants to add more info, he can go to the preferences? Is that like a good practice?
Yeah, you could put some small text on the
Yeah.
bottom, say, if you want, you always have the possibility to add more details in the preference section or something like that.
So maybe we say
Like a
something
hint.
like, do we put it after the action or underneath this?
I would put it on, under the CTA.
Okay. So, and it's a little bit smaller, maybe even a little.
Yeah, maybe a lot smaller.
Yeah. Not that's too small. You will.
You can say, you could always change that on the preference page.
Change your information later. Something like that, right?
Yes, that's a good idea, Harry. 1 sec.
Okay. Any other thoughts you guys are having while we wait for Patrick?
Maybe, I don't know, but I think in the app we have name and surname be two separate things. And that's like a bit of a minor detail, but should we have like name John and then surname Smith? Because that's the way like we
Is
take
that
things from the
how
database.
that's how Google stores it? Does it
Yes.
store first
Yes.
and last name? Okay, so let's do that. Let's just follow how we're actually. So we can duplicate this and bring it down. So first name, last name. That's a good idea. Let's just follow how we have it. I mean, in here, yeah. So we have that. Is your name correct? If not, you can change it here. First name, last name, confirm.
That's it.
You can always change your other information later. Your other. Make this line height a little less. Okay, so that's good. So we're getting somewhere. So now the next thing is that page where we're telling them what would you like to do first. Search for the venue or add a venue that you own. And that we can duplicate this again. Okay. What would you like to do first? And then take these out. And maybe, so are these buttons? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so.
It all depends. Yes, they actually, for me, they actually have to be buttons or CTAs.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably use some picture as not just plain button.
This is interesting.
Picture
How are
buttons.
they going to be picking venues? Oh, we said we weren't going to do search. There was just going to be a list and you pick, at least for MVP, right? Because if venues are searchable, what you would do is you would say, search for a venue and actually give them the box to search in as a way so that immediately they can go to the venue they want or to add the venue. But in this case, I think what we're saying is that we could probably have a button with an icon, right? Something What is the icon?
Yeah, I mean, on this screen, what I would like to see is, for example, something like, or who are you? I'm a venue, and a button call saying I'm a venue owner. I want to create a new venue. I want to register my venue, or I'm a visitor. I want to search for venues. Like
Okay.
2 parts.
Okay.
And then each button just takes you to the corresponding page to register a new venue or to look for a venue.
Okay. So what would you like to do first? Let's
Register a new venue or search for a venue.
really be a little bit bigger. Okay. Just big. Asking. Okay. So so we want a subtitle that separates the screen to say visitor, venue owner, and then on each what action you can take, or we just want to say register, visit, sign up for venue or register venue I own. What approach do we want to take? So what I'm suggesting is you could make it very simple where it's just buttons and maybe there's an icon on the button that illustrates, maybe this is, do they have a map? Okay, so search and sign. Why didn't it take this? Something is wrong in here. Search for a venue. Search for a venue, and then you could do something like add a
Or add your own venue.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Something like that, right? And then we can also put another icon here. Maybe this one is plus. Oh, hold on. What just happened? Oh, and here is what we want. I'm not very good with the shortcuts for Figma. Why is it not?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the ID that counts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there we go. I just want to make sure you can see it's a plus. What is happening here? Okay, this vector line needs to be a plus. Okay, so that's the idea, is that you can search for the venue, or you can pick. So that's the idea. We have some way that they're making a decision. And for this this path, we decided we're going to do the add a venue, right? So the next screen would be about adding the venue. So they would click on this, and now, how do we think about the screen for adding the venue? Is it's another form? Because what is the information we collect about a venue?
Well, that's what I was saying at the beginning. I think we should think about. I see it as a wizard. So it would be like a multi-step form, where maybe on the first 2 pages you have to inform the necessary the required fields, and then on the next pages you could put some more information, but those pages are not required. You can skip them. If you can always input this information later, not to bore the user. So probably the most important. The first thing I will think is,
we probably also need some. I think we need a little thing here. just a little explainer text of what adding a venue, what's the benefit of adding the venue, right?
Yeah,
so by
totally.
adding a venue, you will be able to track visitors for
Probably
open requirements.
since it's a wizard and you're gonna swap screens. Maybe the first page is just text or very very spaced text, just as you just commented.
Yeah.
Said add a venue to blah 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 blah. Explain a little bit what are the advantages of using the app when you are a venue owner. Okay, that's it. Then Lorem Ipsum. Some Lorem Ipsum. There's a plugin for Lorem Ipsum, no?
Oh, it's actually better to wireframe with real language. The Lorem Ipsum is an old pattern.
Okay.
I think it's a venue. You will be able. I just need to figure out how to make this fit in here. That's all. Yeah, there we go. Okay. You will be able to track visitors and meet your COVID reporting requirements. That's it. Just simple. And we just have that in the middle. We don't have to make it pretty. We just know that's what we want, right? Make this a little bit bigger. Okay. Maybe a button that's what is the next thing we're saying? Add venue, like that first part of the required information. So we're basically stepping them through. Do we want to have some way that we have like a thing that shows them where they are in the step?
Yes, I think it is important.
I don't have that. Okay, so it's probably just a couple of
yes.
circles.
It's that's why I was saying it was like a wizard,
Yeah.
typical wizard. So there is some way, some indicator on the number of steps, total steps, and your position inside those steps. So it could be.
And we think it's basically 3 steps, right? It's required information, optional information, and then they added after the optional. Is there any other step?
It depends. What I usually do when I need a lot of info, I try to group the information by categories and do one step by category. The only thing is that some categories are required and some not.
Mm-hmm. So, what is the information in our model that we're collecting actually?
I think the most important one is the name of the venue you want to give, and then the geolocation.
Name and the address, right?
Address.
That's pretty much it, right?
Yes.
So we can just say, but name and address would actually go. Since we're trying to keep it simple and since it's on a mobile, you can have one page that's just the name. Then you go to the next one, that's the address, and then
it's usually better to have less information on each screen and have more screens. What I was thinking is to take advantage of the Google Maps API, and in the name box, use the API to, as you type the name, Google search in his database and then shows you the known venues that he has.
Mm-hmm.
And this way, when you find yours, then all the rest of the information is auto-filled by Google information. And then you can confirm it or change it if you want, but the less the people work, the better they feel.
Okay.
At least that's what I feel.
So we can do, and I'll do this to show you where you are. Intro, this will be smaller. Intro, we can change the wording later, but just this is informational. This one is name. This one is address.
we had a lot more fields. We had
And
opening hours.
Oh, that's right. But those were the additional info, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, what I usually do is I put it in the wizard,
Mm-hmm.
but people can skip the step if they want.
Mhm.
They can do it later, but at least you
Yeah.
give the opportunity to fit it in right now. There are some very rigorous people that like to put everything on one step, and there are
Mhm.
people that are more.
Yeah, so for
not
the
specific.
mobile screen size, if we have more than like 4 steps, it's kind of squeezed to go this way. How do you want to show those steps? Because we want to show them how many what each one is, so that they can skip to the one they want. But we don't want to take up too much screen real estate. So how do you think is the
Well,
best?
that's how wizard work is. It just slides. The form slides, so each step is
Oh,
just
okay, so it'll
translate.
just keep moving to the side, whatever
Yes,
the
it
next
just
one is.
slides from left to right or right to left.
Okay.
As if you click next or previous, it just goes to the next screen, and so you have the whole screen real estate for each step.
Let's see. Some inspiration. Okay. Sometimes they do it. Oh, I'm already signed in. I have an account.
So yeah, you can have the typical vertical
Yeah.
wizard, but I usually don't like it because
That one, you're going to run out of space.
well, you scroll. It's like an infinite scroll, and
Yeah.
at least for me, it gives me the impression that it never ends.
Yeah.
So it looks
Okay,
long.
so we have, okay, so I'm just trying to see some examples.
Or you
Let's
can search for multi steps.
mobile multi-step. Okay, let's see. So this is the one that's a vertical one, where you could be going like this, but this is more when you're just saying yes or no to something. You're like selecting. Then you have this kind. This is similar to what you were saying. So at the top, but this one is just check marks. You don't see what each item is.
Yes, well, you can put the text.
Yeah.
But that's the idea. You have a previous and the next button, and then you have 1, 2, or 3 fields at most on the screen.
Okay. All right. So let's do this. Let's say we can make these. We only need to name the one that we're on, right? You can show that there's other ones.
It depends how you manage navigation, because if you could also allow the user to press on the circles to
go forward,
to go to the page it wants to go to.
Okay. So then maybe
usually there is a way you can have the circle the gray colored and the current one is blue, or highlighted at some point to indicate which one it is.
So we can put something here to show that there's more, that this isn't the full list. Just some indicator that you can scroll it, something like that.
Yeah.
And then after address, it was going to be opening hours, right?
Yeah. And that's it. I think that's it.
Okay. All right. So then we just need to now go through and form by form, we're giving them, okay, so let's do this. This is the one that you're on. Let's make it just a different color. So that's the one you're on. This can be something. I'll just do a stroke and make that gray. Okay. Okay, so do we want to do it with a button down here next? So there's just a button that's next?
Yes, usually it's better. I think it's my opinion. You have always to guide people. The URL one.
Do we want to we could do this, put the text as well. So people who need assistive, and we can have a trailing icon like that, Okay, next. Or actually, we can name it name, right? Because that's what they're going to next.
Probably yes.
Yeah.
In this screen, we also need, or maybe in all screens, we need the home button.
Yeah.
Because maybe if they made a mistake and they click on add venue, but they don't want to add a venue at the point we are now, there's no way to go back. They're stuck there.
Yeah. So I usually make this whatever the identity is. It's usually at the top here, and if you you click on it, then you go back. So
Okay.
we can play around with where we put the identity, but it's usually that's what people expect to do that.
I'm thinking of having like two buttons, one that goes on the next tab slide and then one that goes on the previous button, but also having what Thomas said about the main logo being the home button.
Sure.
So like if you're on address and you're gonna go back and change the name, you press the back button. That's on the left.
Yeah, actually, in the wizard, you would always do that. I think you always have the previous and the next.
Exactly.
Until
The
you're
thing
at
is
the
that
last
this is
one.
the first screen, so there's no previous.
Yeah.
That's why it is just one button. But on the next screens, obviously, there will be a next and a previous.
Okay, so we are saying that the name is actually a search box. From what you were saying, right? Because as you're typing, it's looking.
Yes, it's like an autocomplete one.
Okay.
Well, it's the same. It's the same. It's actually the same widget as in the Google Maps search box. It looks like a normal text input box, but
But
as you type,
does it have an icon on it, or?
Yeah, you can put a magnifier as you have on the screen. That's a good idea. So people know that they're going to start typing and they're going to get proposed some or suggested some text or some names.
Okay. Enter venue name. Right. Okay. And now we are actually on this is the blue. And this one is back to gray. And actually here we're saying that as they type, we'll animate that later. For now, it's just going to be what the screen is. So, and then these should possibly stay at the same level on each page. So now we need actually this to be like this with a another one next to it.
I would say next and previous.
Yeah.
Because on Figma it's okay to put different names, but usually on Wizard widget they don't allow you to change the name. It's always the same.
Okay, and we need the icon to be leading, not there, and we need chevron. We need this one. Uh-oh, sorry. Same mistake as before. Okay. So now we know.
What could be also nice is to on the blank space you have below the input box is to show a small map of the suggestion by Google.
Mm-hmm.
At first it will be blank, obviously, but as you type the name and you validate it, if it is found in Google database, it will probably show a Google map, the small map that they usually show with the marker icon, just to locate.
We can put a little note here that oh, that doesn't need to be this big. Results will be viewed below. Possibly something like that, right? So we don't need to animate it now, but we know here something. Okay. So then we go to address, which is just, oh, wait. So if they do give us back something that has an address to it, when they go next, that address is already filled in.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's why it's useful to use this kind of API, because you don't have to change your form or your screens. It just pre-populate the information, but the format is the same. If it's not found or if it doesn't exist, then you have to fill it up by hand. If not, if it's found, you just click next, next, next.
Yeah.
So yeah, the address thing is always always complicated, because it is not expressed in the same manner in all
In
countries.
other places, right?
Yeah, that's always a mess.
And you know, in the US, a lot of times the way to try to improve the experience is you do the zip first, because then by zip I know your state and your city. Then you just have to give me the street.
Yeah.
So there's different ways you can do it depending on what pattern you're setting up with.
But again, in this step, I would also use the Google API for the address. If you want to try to type the street name,
then you would look it up as they're typing.
Exactly. Google will auto suggest the full direction. If you start typing the street, it will be displayed in list with all the matching streets in the world. So it will be super easy then to fill the rest of the fields.
Yeah.
You would just have to fill up the number or the floor or the door or whatever.
Where are we in this thing? Okay, so this thing. Let me just, I won't use all the fields. We can just say, we can do what you are suggesting, right? Which is,
again, with the search icon.
Yeah. And this one has the search icon, right?
Yeah.
So this is also, there's an annotation that it will search. What happened? There we go. Okay. So this will, actually I need something that points up. Yeah, it's always good in the wireframes to do these annotations. So when somebody else is looking at it, things like this, which we haven't actually illustrated, it's still understandable. So here we're saying that as user types, Google API searches for address and gives suggestions, right?
Correct.
Then ultimately they may be able to just fill it in by picking one of the things that's suggested. Okay. And then we go to, oh wait, this is address, right? Everybody else is very quiet. What do you guys thought so far?
Yeah, like I agree.
Okay. All right.
You guys are doing great. Enjoying watching it.
We're getting a vision for the app, right? And then we go to hours. What are we giving like a start and end hours?
That's a complex. It's a complex screen because we need.
You need like a date picker, not date picker, but some picker thing.
Yes, we need. Well, it's not that complex because we need the opening and closing hours for every day. So it's just 7 lines.
Oh, that's right. You need to do it by the days.
The day of the week. So we can do seven lines from Monday to Sunday with opening hours and closing hours, and that's it, to make it simple.
Yeah. Actually, what we can do is something like this, right? So now we are at hours.
I don't know what you think, Harry. You were about to say something.
Yeah, I think we mean the same thing. Have like 7 rows with the days of the week, and then have 3 columns, which like one is the days of the week, and then opening hours and a dash, and then the closing hours.
Exactly. That's what I had in mind.
So we just put Monday and copy that down. Tuesday. So on. I mean, let's just. We're just gonna repeat that, right? And then, and then at the opening and closing, right?
Yeah.
Opening, closing, and then is it a drop down? What do we think? The thing that they pick.
I think it's you should have a time widget, because it could be, I don't know, 9:30 or 10 or 10:15.
Let's see if there's something for time.
Sure, yeah, probably.
So some sort of widget.
It's an input box with a column in the middle, usually, with AM, PM.
We can just block these out for now, and then we know that we're going to get some sort of widget.
Okay. Or you can put some. You could input the some dummy hours there.
Yeah. That are already selected. Yeah, that's right. Oh, then we can probably do that. Yeah.
I mean, for the sake of
so that we know what
the diagram to know exactly what should be there.
Yeah. And there's no fill, so we can put in. Is opening 2 o'clock p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, so definitely Spanish hours.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, something like that. So they'll go in and they'll select, and then go to the next. So now, once they are done with the hours, what is coming up next?
I think we could call it a day. I think we could finish there.
Okay. So then these buttons should say add the venue.
Or just finish instead of next.
Yeah.
Or you're done. No, you should. You need the previous button always.
Yeah. So then next on this should take you to the preview, because you just review everything that you've done.
The preview of everything.
Yeah.
Like an overview of the menu.
You've done the whole form. Then the next page is a read-only, just telling you this is the name, the address, all of that stuff. Because if you want to change it, you can then go back.
Okay. So in this case, you need your 2 buttons there.
So you need the next, and then here would be. So now we would actually not need the dots, right?
No.
Because we are done with the wizard part. Oh.
So now you could have some kind of card.
Yeah.
With
that's right.
A picture or whatever, a picture that you have found in Google, the address, all the hours, and all exactly a recap of all the data.
Yeah.
And a confirm button or previous.
Why didn't it take it all? Oh, it's all these. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Maybe they have a card. Let's see. No, they don't. Just do a box.
while you're searching, as a comment, I
Mhm.
usually don't do that. Maybe that's probably from experience, and because I always develop the same kind of application over and over again.
Mhm.
I never do this work. I think I always have all the screens in my mind, and they are pretty obvious. But when you work with something that is not your usual stuff, I
Mhm.
can really see the value of it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. And
would
I
still I
think
would still go on not using it for my apps because they are always the same
it's
screens,
always the same.
dashboards, and stuff like that because they all, I mean, it's all almost copy paste from other projects.
Yeah.
So and because I've done dozens of them, so
Yeah.
I know where I'm going. But if I had something completely new, just thanks to this exercise, small exercise, uh, I definitely will go through that. I think it has a lot of value, and if you work with some people, even more. I don't know what the others think about that.
I think it's no, yeah, like it's very useful, but it's gonna be like I don't think it's gonna be easy to display all that info in a single card, unless we have something like a slide they can do and go through the info fast. But one page with all the info, especially with the hours, I think it's pretty tough to fit in.
You think
Well,
so?
remember that you can scroll, so it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
going to be some. So these preview finish thing right here, it's showing it as one. Actually, this is actually something you can do here. You
Oh, you
can
can scroll
extend,
down, right?
yeah, you can extend it, right? So
Mm.
what we're actually, yeah. So in reality,
Well,
it'll
if
be
you
like this long, but when the person experiences it on the phone, they're just going to scroll and review
Yeah,
and then
I
see the
see.
button at the bottom.
All right,
Um,
all right.
if you take your mobile phone and use Google Maps, search for a place, that's exactly what we want. That there is a little card with some picture at the top, the name of the place, some stars to show the reviews of the people.
mhm,
Then there is the sort or the type of place it is, gymnasium, swimming pool, whatever. Then you have the time in car from where you are, and then you have some tabs, and you can also scroll, as Thomas said. So this is a very good example. I don't know if I can share the picture. Well, you all know that, I guess. I'm not the only one using Google Maps, am I?
yeah. Address and other information. Address and other information. Um, oh, I have a question here. So, since we are using Google Maps, how does the person confirm that this is their venue? Because I could search for the same venue when I'm logged in and say it's my venue as well.
Um, Correct. So it's not very difficult. The only thing that we that is difficult to do is to match or to confirm that what someone says is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I'm explaining myself on the first screen when you enter the venue name, it's going to display some suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at the time that the suggestions are displayed, we can do two things. We can, for every suggestion, we check in the database, in our database, if
Mm-hmm.
this venue, this from Google, is already
Already
registered
set
by
up.
someone, and
Mm-hmm.
then we take it out of the list or we gray it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem is that it is first, as you say, first
First
come
come,
first
first
serve.
serve, right? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have no way to make sure that the first person that registered this venue as its own uh,
Mm-hmm.
is the truth.
Yeah.
You cannot verify that.
I
Okay.
have a
So
suggestion.
yeah,
So we can use the phone verification with the Twilio. So we can send them the text message and saying, "Hey, is it really you?" And then once they confirm it, that we know that it's them who are requesting the venue.
Okay.
But I think
Okay. I think yeah. I'm not certain 100% certain that from the Google API you get the email or phone number or any contact detail from the owner of the place. But yeah, it could be a way to do that.
Well, actually, all of those, if it's a business, business owners actually can own the details. So they're the ones who put in opening hours, closing hours, all that. In fact, we could probably pull that from API if
Yeah.
it's a business that exists, and they own that. Like, so it's tied to some identity that is them. So if that's the case, if you bring up something like that, they would need to confirm, and we can confirm because it's tied to some Google authentication that they have.
Yeah, well,
That's right.
that's the point. I don't know. I'm not sure that
Yeah.
through the API you can get that contact information.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get, as you said, you can get plenty of information, probably the opening hours and the location, of course, and some IDs and stuff like that. But what we need in this case is from the Google API to give us some contact
Yeah.
of the Google owner of this venue,
Yeah.
to send him a confirmation request
Yeah.
to validate our own registry. But I don't know if we can get this from the API. But yes, that's a correct way to answer the Harry's question. It's the correct way to do that.
Yeah, because this whoever owns this information, so they are telling you hours and things like that. Because this is actually another product that they provide for small businesses where you can manage this information. So like a restaurant, you'll see, yeah, so you see this, the reason they know these hours is these people entered those.
Yeah.
So if we could do the research and figure out, because I think that would be a cool integration, because then what you would do is maybe you allow me to set it up, but then you send an email to say confirm to the person who owns it. And if I don't get it confirmed, it's not activated as a
Exactly. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to switch gears a little bit and let's make this into like a clickable prototype. I think Harry, you said you had tried this and it wasn't working for you. Did you click on this thing over here?
Yeah, I did, but I think the reason that didn't happen is like maybe I used a graphic design from the wireframe instead of how do you call that? A card from Figma. I don't know if these things are the same. or
No,
not.
actually, any element that you have in your frame should be able to do this. So I'm actually surprised that it was giving you a problem.
Oh, I wasn't getting that. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So let's we can actually put this to this page. Then the confirm is the next one to this page. Then we want this one is the next page here. Add the name is the next page. We can also make this one take you to add name. Oh, is it only allowing one? Why is that? Oh, it's there. Okay. And then here, the previous takes you back. Now, there's actually a cool thing with just a cool tip on prototype. If you want to actually do something where it's like a real back button, but you could be coming from different places, so you're not always the previous screen that we have here, you can actually make this navigate, so you can make it be a back button. And that what that means is it'll always take you to the previous screen that you're on.
Not a specific one. It's
Not
a relative one.
Yeah. And then we make this here match. Oh, and then I'm going to change the animation to be dissolve. That'll look a little more. So you can change how it switches the screens.
Mm-hmm.
So dissolve just kind of looks like a screen is rendering. You can do like slide in, move in, stuff like that. So we'll do dissolve for that. We do this here, another dissolve. Yeah. Dissolve. We said this one had one, yeah. Dissolve. This should be quick. Okay. This one here. So let's just do a couple more. I want to show you that the scrolling thing too. So this thing here goes to here, and this one will take us to our final page. Right. So now if we go into here to actually play the prototype, because we set this up with the iPhone 8, it automatically put it in the iPhone 8 frame. So now you're gonna log in, you'll see this information, you'll confirm it, then you'll get this view, then you add the venue. So now you're going to add a name, you would search in there, and then next, the street name, next, you get your venue. Next, we get to this. You see, this is what I was talking about. You can actually scroll it. So you'll be able to put however long the information.
I see, yeah.
Yeah. And people are used to that now. You don't have to worry about putting everything on the one interface because the phone screen is small anyway. So that's all I had for today, actually.
That's okay.
So was that helpful, guys? I hope it was.
Yes, for me it was. I mean, being part of the process and brainstorming and then seeing how you can use this kind of tool to prototype the screens, and it makes you think about how you have to structure the app behind that, and also it helps you for user experience.
Yeah.
Not UI. Obviously UI because you're designing it.
Yeah.
But also the UX, the workflows, and maybe probably something like, you have to ask question to the user. You have a lot of information to request from them, but maybe you don't realize how much it is or how heavy and boring it is until you start designing the screens.
Yeah.
And if you end up with 25 screens for gathering information, then you should probably realize that you're not going the correct way.
Yeah.
So that's pretty useful, and yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
I don't know, Harry, Sam, what is your opinion about that?
Yeah, I think like it's pretty nice in the way you can like I don't know, sit down with some people, discuss, brainstorm, as you said, and then come up with the best solution. Because like every time you think about something, you only think of this problem from your perspective. So it's really nice seeing from everyone else, and Figma really allows you to collaborate with all those like I don't know. It's as Patrick said, it's live. I don't know. I think they use WebAssembly, so they can do crazy stuff. Even though
it's using WebAssembly, so it's actually like Rust underneath. So everything is like calculated very fast. So it doesn't feel like a web app that's like laggy. The other thing I would say is that this process is really cheap. So in an hour, we were able to basically think about this whole flow here. Imagine if you tried to do this in code to make all these screens, then you realize that you had the wrong flow, right? That's a much more like expensive way to learn that information. So in here, you can actually play around with different approaches to doing it. You might have a different way you're thinking of showing the opening and closing. Maybe you have a cooler kind of animation that you want to try. So you can actually try all those different things and maybe even put them in front of people who are potential people who would use the app and have them click through. Because that's the cool thing with the prototype thing. You can send it to somebody and then have a share screen and have them try to do the action and then see what they press on, see what's intuitive for them, see what is confusing. And then you can go and kind of adjust. So by the time you get to actually committing things to code, you are much more confident that the path that you're taking is good. And also, I think because we're kind of working collaboratively on this in terms of building the app itself, it'll be cool for us to have the same vision of what this UI is when we then start trying to think about how we implement it.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, like, I think they're trying to make it so you have a design and then it auto generates the HTML and CSS. Like, is that a thing in Figma or XD?
So Figma has a concept of inspect, which can help you a little bit. I just had this issue come up at work. So inspect actually shows you the properties of different things, and you can actually get a little bit of CSS, like what you would do for if you create like a component. You can kind of inspect it, but it's not a tool that's designed where it will actually spit out for you what that. There is a plugin actually on the community site which can spit you out HTML and CSS as a starting point. You could do that, and then you have to go in and change the class names and everything because it just auto-generates class names. So it's a good starting point as well. If you didn't know how to make the structure that you had made visibly, there's some shortcuts to at least have some starter code. But I think it's best when you use it for kind of thinking through how everything flows together. This is the wireframe version. You also can use Figma for doing more higher fidelity, prototype. The high fidelity would actually look like what the app will look like. So you'll have all the colors, which again, somebody can inspect and get the right hex codes. They can export the SVGs if you've made custom icons or custom layovers of shapes. All of those things you could then take and use in your code. But you'll still, I think, have to figure it out in the code in terms of how you ultimately build it up.
Actually, if you do an app like maybe not mobile, but like a portfolio, something which is not really an app, which is just more a static web where the design and everything visual is extremely important, and then the code or the logic is almost absent, then it could make sense to export the HTML and twist it a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do an app with a lot of logic and probably you're using something like React, Angular, or Vue, which is component based, then it makes no sense to export anything. As Thomas said, it's okay to use the hex code for the colors and export the SVGs, but then you need to create the components.
Yeah.
And each component is reusable on all the screens. So having a huge HTML for that, it is not really helpful.
One thing that you could do, another thing that this could help you with is when you've finished kind of thinking through what's the higher fidelity version of this, you could actually identify what are the things that, as you're going along, you could identify what things are actually components in here. Though those potentially are components in your Angular or React as well. And so you'll know what little pieces I need to build, which I will compose together to make my full UI. Because if you're repeating certain elements, like, this thing, the wizard thing that we had at the top is probably a component that just has different state for which one is highlighted. So you would at least know that ahead of time. And when you're going into your code, you know that I'm not trying to make one screen that has all of this content. It's actually a screen that's composed of these components. And so you design the components and then you compose them in your, you kind of build up the screens from that. So it can help you figure out some of the reusability where you're going to reuse UI.
Yeah. So something else I wanted to comment, probably more useful to younger people or people not really used to work in companies or in consultants, is something you mentioned, Thomas, is you need to go through this step to verify and to validate what you've understood with the client. It is really, really important. I mean, you have basically two ways or two scenarios where you develop an app because you're a startup or you're just a one-guy startup and you do your own app and you have to check with some potential users. But this is very different from an actual customer that has ordered you to or bought you services or hired you to build something for him. So it means that you have to go back and forth with him to get the specs, start confirming the specs, try to build a prototype, go screen by screen with the client to confirm all the prototypes. If he looks the look and feel, if he finds, as Thomas said, the interface intuitive, if the workflow is okay, if you're completely mistaken, this is it looks like it's stupid, but usually it takes weeks to get the full agreement from the client because people don't have the same understanding of everything, and there's always language barriers or cultural barrier, or even if you live in the same country, there people think different ways. So it is very important, and it is
there may be some things that you didn't fully understand about their business, where once they see the screens you came up with, they'll be like, that would never happen, or
exactly.
This doesn't happen this way. Now you have that clarification, and again, it's cheap because you just have to go change your wireframes as opposed to actually changing the app.
Yes, and this is something that I'm quite involved in the education in Spain for all that, and this is something I'm always complaining about in all the schools, from all engineering schools. They teach a lot of programming. Many of it is bad, but okay, I have to learn. But they don't teach actually how to work. It's just theoretical. Okay, you learn C, you learn C++, and then you learn some Python or some Java, some JavaScript, blah blah blah, whatever career you're studying. But it's very rare to find some classes inside your career or your school career that teaches you how to manage that, to manage this process, and get the gathering of information with the client, and then the feedback you give to the client to get some feedback from the client, blah, coming forth. And this is something I see missing every time we do some project at my bank, and we hire some new people from big consulting company. I mean people like IBM or McKinsey, or top tier companies. They always come with some dude at the beginning that is very tied up and very classy and blah blah blah, very smart words, and then you go to talk to the technician, to the actual programmer, and he doesn't have a clue because there's no communication.
Yeah.
And they wanted to keep it that way because they don't want her to hire the guy usually. but this is something missing from their own understanding. Those technical guys, they don't have that. They don't know that. They think that they understood everything, and they just start right away. And it usually costs a lot of money because each hour they spent is hundreds of dollars of money spent.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very good. Yeah, it's the same thing. I work in a big corporation as well, and those soft skills around how you negotiate, how you collaborate, how you solicit feedback and take it in a non-emotional way, so you are able to actually absorb information and go and make changes and iterate and work in partnership with the people, as opposed to getting confrontational. There's all these things which actually have very little to do with your technical knowledge of how well you can code something, which actually have a big impact on whether it's going to be a successful product, whether it's an internal product or a product that's going to external consumers.
I'm still working a lot, but a little bit. But last year and the year before, I was working on product side for a guy in Louisiana for a clerk office. So we made a great app to register all the lawsuits and all the notification and all the paperwork that the clerks have to manage. And we started with some new, it started like 3 years ago. So we started with some material, Angular look and feel. And then, but those guys, we forgot, he's in contact with them, but we forgot that those guys are 50-plus-year-old clerks. They're not very digital friendly, and we made something that looked great, but when they saw it, for them it was not serious.
You-
It was they're clerks. I mean, it has to be gray and boxes and square boxes and everything aligned, and a lot of information in one screen. They don't like to scroll. They don't like to go back and forth. They used to uh, input data in terminal, in old DOS screens, black and green screens and stuff like that, because they're old terminal of the Justice Department, unique style. And that's exactly my point. You can do the best thing you can, and it's really look great, and you completely miss the point because of the lack of communication with the client.
yeah.
And obviously we had a lot of time, so it was easy to correct, and we had a lot of feedback with them, and at some point we also teach them how to change a little bit. It's very hard to change the mentality of old clerk people, but yeah, they realize that maybe those huge forms where they usually fill like 20% of the fields, the rest was useless. Maybe sometimes they have to go there and look for it, but usually they don't use it. So at the end we convinced them, but it took a lot of time to only have the main information on the capture screen, and maybe have another screen with optional info that they don't use so frequently. But yeah, it was a very, very, very interesting learning process to work with those guys, and to watch your language and stuff like that. It was
It's very fortunate to have you both. We are learning 20 years or more than experience in one session, and it's amazing. Like how
Fuck
much
you, Sam. We're
money
not
and
so old.
oh no. I mean, you guys are wise, and yeah, it's so fortunate to have you guys. Like there's so much insight about all aspects of the application and how it goes. Thank you so much.
Well,
Yeah.
you're welcome. A pleasure for me.
Yep. Okay. So thanks a lot, guys. I guess I'll hand it back to you, Patrick, now.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
get back to the
Thanks a
trailer.
lot. Thanks a lot, Tom. It was really, really interesting, and even I learned some stuff.
Yeah.
Even though I almighty.
Yeah.
So I was thinking. I was thinking, what can be the next session, and I was thinking maybe if you want to, if you think it's interesting, I can show you how to use this Google API.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have ever used an external API inside this kind of API, which is not easy. I mean, just doing a request to an HTTP endpoint, it's quite easy. It's very easy. Using those Google APIs, it's not that straightforward. I would have to remember how it works. Maybe that's changed, but I had some experience with it. I think maybe this could be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's very interesting because it's a very, very narrow, focused session on just one thing. It hardly expand to other APIs. But I don't know if it's something that you'd like to see or not.
Well, I think it's an API that's used all over the place. So understanding it, and also if it's something that even if it's not that knowledge is not repeatable somewhere else, just watching your thought process of how you think through it and how you attack using the API, I think would be helpful. That's for me personally, I think.
Yeah, I agree with Thomas.
Okay, Sam, do you think it could be useful?
Oh, we might have lost Sam.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I try to do that. I'm not promising anything. I finally have unlocked some budget at my bank to find some help. So I'm interviewing people this week and next week. So hopefully for next week I will have someone helping me with the work, so I get some more free time.
Okay.
And more sleep also.
Cool.
Okay, so I hope I got some time to do that.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Thanks a
thank
lot.
you all.
Okay.
Bye. See you
Bye.
next week.